One. Hi, this is Lee Furseth from the Headwater Science Center, and I'm reaching out just to make sure my microphone is on. This is Orion. All of you tuning in out there, there's a couple of special things I want you to know. One, we have a live audience. So from time to time, I'm going to show the pictures over here, and you'll go, wait, let me see them, and then I'll bring them back over here. And of course, Orion gets read to, so you'll have to get to see the pictures too. I want you to know we do this every day at 3:30 on Wednesdays. It's always a story. Here's another fun thing. Frequently, show coming up very soon, like tomorrow or Friday or Saturday, there's a follow-up story. Frequently, it's about things that come up in the story. But today's story is about moles. If you know anything about moles, they are very nearsighted. Not even sure that's an accurate term to use with a mole, but they are very, very nearsighted. That is the issue in the story. The main character in the story longs to see the stars. He just wants to see the stars. Now for you and me, we'd walk outside and look up, and if it's not a cloudy night, we see them twinkling away. We get to see the stars. It doesn't work for moles. The moles have to come up with a plan. How do I get to see the stars? That is at the very core of the story. The mole family's Christmas. It's a little bit longer. So if you want to know, you could go search for this one. It's such a common, popular story. You'd find it instantly if you did it online, including a couple of movies that have been made about this book. Very good. There's an owl in this story. His name is Ephraim. Ephraim the owl is in this story. I want you to know we're open 7 days a week. 9:30 to 5 o'clock Monday through Saturday. Sundays, we wait till after lunch. So we're open from 1 to 5, except Christmas Day. Please don't come here on Christmas Day because we are all staying at home too. The Science Center will be closed on Christmas Day. We are open Christmas Eve, by the way, but Christmas Day we are closed. Here we go. Whole Family's Christmas. By Russell Hoban and Lilian Hoban. I think they got together, with one of them doing the book and the other one doing the pictures. What a fun couple that would be to me. Harvey Mole and his son Delver did straight mole work. They tunneled, they dug, and they brought home the groceries. Harvey and Delver wore overalls and thick boots and heavy work gloves. They wore thick glasses because the whole mole family was very, very nearsighted. And they had little lanterns in their caps because they tunneled in the dark. Here's the picture for you. There it is for our live audience. And for you. Oh, he asked a question. I told you about his fear of large carnivores like bears. He asked, are there any carnivores? Yes, there's a carnivore in the story. I want you to know, no moles die in the writing of this story. Spoiler alert, no moles will die during this story. They tunneled in the springtime and in the summer. They tunneled in the fall and all through the winter. While Harley, wife, Emma, cooked, cleaned, and washed the overalls. All three of them worked every single day, all day. Every day, they were all the same, day after day after day. Digging tunnels below the ground. A lady was telling me just today, yep, they tunneled right underneath her garden and ate some of the garden. In the evening, Emma mended overalls, work gloves, while Harley and Delver cleaned the lanterns and scraped the mud from their boots and rubbed them down with tallow. When Delver's chores were all done, he polished and sorted his collection of good-shaped stones, marbles, bits of colored glass that he'd found while tunneling. Sometimes he just sat around and thought, Delver is a brooder, Emma used to say to Harley. No, Harley would say, Delver is a thinker. There's no telling what that boy might do someday when he puts his mind to it. Mole's family home was right under a lawn, a house that had been empty for a long, long time. But that fall, a family moved in, and that winter, very early one morning, while everyone else was still asleep, Delver tunneled up through the earth, all the way through the snow, to take a look at the house. At the back door of the house, he found a house mouse looking at a calendar that the milkman had left. It said season's greetings on the calendar. "Christmas is coming," said the mouse. And then he ran away and got into his hole. "Christmas is coming," said the mouse. Well, Delver is a thinker, right? Delver thought about that all day. And at dinner that night, he asked his mother and father, "What is Christmas?" "I have no idea," Harley said. "No idea whatsoever." "Neither do I," said Emma. "Perhaps it's a people thing." Delver thought about that some more. That evening, when his chores were all done, he went back up to the people's house. There he found that mouse again, dining on birdseed that had fallen from the feeder. "What is Christmas?" said Delver. "It's several flavors of paper and paste and cardboard," said the mouse. "Fresh paste sometimes, and there's no end. Ribbon, string, lots of nesting material. Constant footsteps overhead and no rest for anyone until he comes." "Till who comes?" asked Delver. "This fat man in a red suit," said the mouse. "He has a big white beard. First, there's a lot of stomping and snorting and jingling on the roof." Bit of a picture. Two of them are visiting away about what is Christmas. There you are. There's a mouse in the book. I don't think there are any rabbits. Then he comes huffing and puffing and wheezing down the chimney. He puts knickknacks and candy in all the stockings. He leaves all kinds of packages all over the place. And he is constantly saying, you know what he's constantly saying? Ho, ho, ho. Ho, ho, ho. And he goes huffing and puffing and goes right back up the chimney. It's quite an odd thing, really. But people don't seem to mind it too much. He only does it once a year. "What's in the package?" said Delver. "Skates, trains, dolls, whatnots, anything that the people have asked for." You see, the people children write letters, and if they've been good, the fat man in the red suit brings them what they asked for. It's an important point. Don't forget the letter. The letter becomes an important part of the story, because that's how you get gifts, right? Is you send them. "Does he ever bring you anything?" asked Delver. "No," said the mouse. "But I don't have a chimney, and I don't write letters. It's late," he said. "I've got to get good at getting home before Ephraim Owl comes out on his evening rounds." Lovely night, isn't it? Look at those stars. "Where?" said Delver. "Up in the sky," said the mouse. "Where else would they be?" And he shook his head and ran back into the house. He shook his head. Which direction? It's in disbelief. He shakes his head like this. Then he runs back. As Delver said, "What stars?" Delver looked up, but Delver was too nearsighted to see the stars. When he squinted hard, he could barely make out the blurry brightness here and there. Squinting. You know what squinting is? No. Yeah, that's it. Boy,
there you go.
That is very nice squinting. Yeah, you squint. He's squinting away and everything is still blurry. He was still squinting up at the sky when a lady mouse came running by, nibbling on a birdseed. She said, "Those stars are especially fine tonight, aren't they?" she said. "They certainly are," said Delver. "Indeed," said the lady mouse. "It almost makes you feel like singing. You might say the way they glimmer and shine. Doesn't it make you feel like singing?" "Yes," said Delver, "I think it is." He went on squinting while the lady mouse went on nibbling. After a while, Delver said, "Do you have any particular way that you look at the stars?" I just look up, said the lady mouse. Of course, I have seen people looking at them with telescopes, which I suppose is a way that you could look at stars. Look out, she cried, and dove into the shrubbery. Sorry if that scared you. Should have warned you. Look out, she said as she jumped into the shrubbery, pulling Delver with her as old Ephraim the owl swooped down to get them both. I already told you, no moles die in the reading of this book. Don't have to be worried. Wait a minute, was that an owl? Is he listening in?
He must be listening to the story.
Wow. From one owl to another.
Who?
Said Ephraim as he flew up with nothing in his, they're not called claws, are they? They're not called claws. They don't call them claws. Do you know what they call them? Talons. Very good. If not this time, I'm going to get you next time. And he flew away, hooting and chuckling. You better keep your eyes open, said the lady mouse to Delver. He almost caught you. I was thinking, said Delver. What's a telescope? I believe that a telescope is something that would be very handy for someone who is very nearsighted. It's like a very far-sighted eyeball, which would undoubtedly be really helpful to anyone who is somewhat nearsighted. Undoubtedly, said Delver. Thank you very much. Good night, he said, and he tunneled slowly home. And all the time he was tunneling home, he was thinking about stars. You are, right? All the next day, Delver worked and worked with his father. All the time he was working, he kept thinking about stars that he could not see. And finally, he began to cry. Or cry like tears. Crying. What's the matter? Said Harley. Delver told him the whole story about stars. I went above ground a time or two myself when I was young, said Harley. I heard about stars too. I know how you feel. There are telescopes, said Delver. And he told his father all about what the lady mouse had told him. I wish I had a telescope, said Delver. So do I, said Harley. It would be nice to see a few stars, just for the experience, you know? Maybe if we had a chimney, said Delver. He told Harley more about the fat man in the red suit. Ah, said Harley, that's a people thing. It's not a mole thing. I've never heard of a fat man in a red suit giving anything to any animals. And anyhow, we haven't got a chimney, said Delver. Haven't got a chimney, said Delver. What would you do if you didn't have a chimney? Cry?
From all the smoke in your house. Maybe.
We've got a stovepipe, said Harley. Same as any other animal. Gotta have a chimney. That's the key. And it has to be the size of people. People-sized chimney, said Harley. Well, said Delver, would have to be big enough for his hand anyway. Reach in with the telescope and deliver it. All right, said Harley, taking a deep breath and drawing himself up to his full height. Let's make one. When Emma heard about the project, she had many doubts. I'd like to see stars as much as anyone else, she said, but we mustn't get our hopes too high. Nonetheless, he was fully supportive. Boy, you're really listening. Ryan is really listening. Sometimes he even turns his back to the camera. Not today, he's really into it. The Mole family made many nighttime trips above ground. They had to get sand and cement for their mortar. Harley and Emma and Delver carried broken pieces of bricks and heavy stone, always watching and listening for... Wow, that was a perfect timing. He's listening for the owl. Old Ephraim failed to catch them night after night, but he vowed, sooner or later, he would be dining on mole. The longer it takes, the better you'll taste, said the moles. Said Ephraim. But the moles kept working on the chimney. In spite of Ephraim, every night, chimney got higher. The mouse who had told Delver about Christmas showed him how to spell out the words for the letter. By the time the chimney was half built, he was ready to mail the letter. The question is, where do I mail it? I know he comes down, said the mouse, so he must come from up. Let's send it up, suggested the mouse. So the moles found a very long stick, stuck it straight into the snow with the letter in the cleft. Wait, there's a good word for you. The cleft at the end of it. The letter said, there's the letter sitting in a cleft. It's actually the envelope. And this letter is being written by Delver. He's getting help from the mouse. Here's what it says. To the fat man in the red suit. Why did they address it that way? They address the letter to the fat man in the red suit. That's what they write at the top. Yeah, that's right. They don't know him. They don't know who Santa Claus is, so they write it, the fat man in the red suit. All of us moles down here have been good. We need a telescope so that we can look at the stars. Maybe you don't give things to animals. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll swap you my stone, marble, and glass collection for the telescope. Swap? You know what I mean by swap? Swap? I'm going to swap something. It means like, I'll give you something if you give me something. I'm going to swap it with you. I'll swap my stones, my marbles, and my glass collection. And if that's not enough, we'll hire out for just plain digging. We're good at tunnels. We can dig almost anything. Your friend, Delver, Mole. Now that night, the mole stopped working before old Ephraim made his rounds. So they were in bed when he passed overhead on silent wings. Old Ephraim saw the letter sitting on the stick, and he snatched it up in his talons, stuck it into his back pocket, and he flew away. So look really careful. I'm going to hold this one right up there because we want to be able to see the letter. It's sitting in Ephraim's back pocket. We're going to have to ask Angie. And Angie is in to work next time. Angie, owls have back pockets. There's the letter sitting in the back pocket. When the moles came out the very next night, they saw that the letter was gone. They said, well, now that it's been picked up, it's just a matter of time until the telescope comes. Then the moles worked very hard every night to finish the chimney, all of them hoping very much that the fat man in the red suit would come. Each of them thought, what if it doesn't work out? What if it doesn't work out? What should we do if it doesn't work out? So, just to make sure that Delver and Harley would have something for Christmas, Emma made them new mufflers. Harley made a pair of pretty slippers for Emma and a pair of moccasins for Delver. Delver made a sewing box for his mother and a reading lamp with a green ginger ale bottle glass shade for his father. And all the moles wrapped up their presents and hid them. Even if the fat man doesn't bring a telescope, said Emma to Harley and Delver, he may leave some other sort of present. You know, that's just what I was thinking, said Harley. So was I, said Delver, and they all smiled to themselves with their inside joke. There it is. An inside joke. An inside joke is like, if I know something that you don't know, if I know something you don't know, it's an inside joke. I know it, but you don't. And the moles finished the chimney by the light of the moon on Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve? Christmas Eve this year is on Friday, is it not? We're talking about 2 days from now. They're all finished. Chimney. There it is for you guys. They sat on top of the chimney and sighed happily, smiling up at the stars that they could not see. They were so tired they fell asleep right there. Wow, they fell asleep right there. They were still sitting there asleep when old Ephraim came by. Hoo, hoo! There they are, my three-course dinner. There they are, my three-course dinner. I'll just swoop down and I'll hoot a couple of times so they jump up and run. They won't be fast enough to get away anyway. Won't that be fun? I told you, you don't have to worry. No moles will die in this storm. Ephraim swooped down, but the tired moles, they just stayed there sleeping. This doesn't seem quite right, said Ephraim. So he flew up again. This time I'm going to hoot really loud. Want to help? Want to help? Ready? Set, go. Hoo, 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 hoo. They still didn't get up. They still didn't race away. Wake up, you silly moles. Wake up. Silly thing, said Ephraim. They write a letter about a telescope. They ask for stars that they can't see. And then they sit out there, right out in the moon. They deserve to be eaten. Just then, it was midnight, and the bells in the churches began to ring. The sound floated off through the snow. Then, from high up above, like a silent singing stars, there came this faint jingling, the jingling of a sleigh bell. And all at once, Ephraim felt really jolly and all full of fun. Won't those moles feel foolish if they woke up and found themselves not eaten? And then he chuckled. You know what I mean by chuckle? Chuckle? You know what chuckling is? Can we show him? Can we show him? Ready, get set, go. Chuckling is to laugh. It's not usually real loud.
Yeah.
Chuckling is usually a kind of a quieter kind of laugh.
Having a little chuckle.
Yeah. So he's going, won't they feel foolish if they wake up and find themselves not eaten? He chuckled. And then just to make fun, I'm going to fly up and give this letter to whoever that is up there. And off he goes. There's Ephraim with the letter. He's going to give it to that man in the red suit. Of course, we know who that is, right? We know that name. So it was on Christmas morning. The moles woke up feeling very foolish for having slept out in the open all night. They also found themselves very lucky that they had not been eaten. Right beside them was a shiny telescope. See the telescope? What are we seeing it over there? By the way, at the Science Center, we have lots of telescopes. We should dig those out and see if we can see the stars. You see, said Delver, all it took was a chimney. I didn't even have to swap my glass and marble collection. But the joke wasn't only on the moles. The joke was also on old Ephraim, because when he woke up later that afternoon, he found a very nicely wrapped package inside the door of his tree where he lived. And inside the package was an elegant striped tie along with a card. The package? All right, now does an owl need a tie? Let's ask our owl when we're done. Season's greetings to the jolly good fellow from the fat man in the red suit. And then it was signed, S. Claus. So that was how the Mole family's first Christmas went. They were very, very pleased. On top of the chimney, they made an owl-proof observatory out of an upside-down flower pot. And then they were able to look at the stars in perfect comfort. I think Delver did really well to find out about Christmas, don't you think? Said Emma. Yes, said Harley. You can never tell what a boy is going to accomplish when he puts his mind to it. Sure, that's true for girls, by the way. But our audience today happens to be all boys too, and Orion's a boy, so let's stick with that one. Here I am. I never ever expected to see a single star in my whole life, said the father. Look at all of them. I call that impressive. It really is like singing, the way they glimmer and shine. Even Delver's mouse friends, who were not all that nearsighted, found that they really enjoyed looking at the stars through a telescope. And now everyone in the neighborhood goes to the mole's observatory. Old Ephraim wears his tie constantly. And although he still hunts the moles regularly, he has not managed to catch them. There's Ephraim. I think they mean that's his tie. There's been a lot of talk about using the mole's chimney next Christmas for all the animals. And the mice are already at work writing their letters to the fat man in the red suit. So is old Ephraim, who, being somewhat more knowledgeable, writes his letter to S. Oz. Hey, thanks for tuning in today. Hope you enjoyed this story, The Mole Family's Christmas. Like I said, we'll be back with you tomorrow for a special 3:30, where I'm going to read my favorite book